Raj Goyle has recognized the importance of jobs. Your opponent claims that he leads in creating jobs. Could you please point out what the differences are between you and your opponent?
I appreciate that. I think this is as important a distinction that you will hear in this campaign, because of course everybody's for jobs. The question is who has the experience and the plan to actually do something about it. In my time in the legislature, I helped work across party lines to create and enact legislation that helped create thousands of jobs. And in particular, in 2008, we passed a law, the Economic Growth Act, that enabled the governor to negotiate with private sector companies to make sure that they retain and expand their job base right here. That bill led to Cessna announcing 1,000 new jobs with the Cessna Columbus program. Now, due to the economic conditions at the time, that program has been deferred. But that piece of legislation led to the groundbreaking deal last month that created 600 new jobs when Governor Parkinson and Mayor Carl Brewer negotiated with Learjet to build the Lear 85 right here in Wichita. Working across party lines for common sense solutions like that so that we can have the public sector work with the private sector to create jobs. My opponent, on the other hand, even though he's taken direct taxpayer subsidies for his own companies, says philosophically he's opposed to the government helping entrepreneurs. Well, we all know that we want the private sector to create jobs. We're all people who want the private sector to lead the way, but we also know that the public sector can work collaboratively with the private sector to make sure that we are investing in core priorities and creating jobs, and that is a very critical distinction between us. And secondly, we do have a difference of opinion on the importance of stopping the outsourcing of Kansas jobs. One of us will stand up and say, here are the rules of the game, this is competition, and say, hey, this is the way it is, I'm not sure how much we can do about it. Another one of us, on the other hand, will stand up and say, Congress writes the rules of the game, and if the rules of the game have to be changed to protect Kansas jobs, I'm going to stand up and do it. And it's my belief that we have too many members of Congress of both parties who are not willing to change those rules of the game to stand up for the best trained and best workforce in America right here in South Central Kansas. So thank you, Mel, for your question. Yes, Kelly.
Amazingly, I began hearing in connection with the primaries across the nation that there are actually Republicans who are starting to talk again about privatizing Social Security. Is privatizing Social Security, in your opinion, one of the ways that we need to use to protect Social Security?
No. How many of you have experienced some loss economically over the last 18 to 24 months? Don't raise your hand. It's too depressing. Just imagine, we know how much wealth we have lost in this nation and around the world with this deep economic recession. Imagine if we had had the hard-earned money, this compact that we make with our older Americans to paying into Social Security, and we have played Russian roulette with that money in this stock market. Imagine how many older Americans right now wouldn't be able to pay for prescription drugs, wouldn't be able to pay for food, wouldn't be able to live with hope and dignity that Social Security has provided. So on my watch, Social Security will not be privatized. Craig, you had your hand up.
I know you mentioned this before, but could you tell us exactly what we can do for your campaign?
Oh, I like that question. I appreciate that, Craig, and I have to say, Craig was somebody who volunteered at our home in 2006 and has driven volunteers and driven me as we've gone door to door. I do appreciate that because I do want to make this as clear as possible. If you have time to volunteer, again, it could be every day or it could be once a week, and you can also volunteer from home making phone calls. Please sign up and please let them know your email address and your cell phone. And if you can't do it one week but you can the next, that is perfectly fine. We will make it around your schedule. But the greatest thing we can do to win an election is to have Kansans talking to other Kansans. TV ads have a great effect, and I enjoy that relationship with the voters, but nothing is as powerful as Geraldine calling up her friend and colleague and saying, you know, I know you may be somebody who generally votes Republican, but you know what, regardless of party labels, I know that Raj is our guy. And those sorts of things have to be done to win this, and we have thousands of phone calls to make. Every night we knock thousands of doors and make thousands of phone calls, but it's still not enough. So please do volunteer as much as you can, and we've got our staff in the back who will sign you up and happily take your information. And yes, if you are able to contribute of whatever amount, as Channel 12's ad execs reminded me last night, it ain't cheap to go up on television. We have to do it to communicate with this district, and as I've been proud of the ad campaign ads we've run. They've spoken to issues, they've spoken to my background, and we've seen a great response to them, but they do take funds to stay on the air. So grateful for any and all that you can do. So I very much appreciate your time. It's an honor to be here. It is very heartwarming to see such a great crowd, and I will leave you with this. I don't ask anybody to do anything that I don't do myself. So I am going back to my office to make phone calls to voters and to raise funds and to speak. And yesterday we got up at 5:30 in the morning. We put 500 miles on the car. We went to Independence, Kansas, opened an office, met voters there. We went to Topeka, had a meeting there, came back, did a speech at 4 o'clock, attended an event at 7 o'clock, went back to the office at 9 o'clock, strategized with our team, and we got up on doing it again. So I can tell you, you've got the hardest working staff in Canada and the country, and I'm honored to have your support. So thank you very much.
Than most of you in this room. But I remember when Garner Shriver was defeated by Dan Glickman. When Garner Shriver first ran for office, I think it was 1960, that was the last time we had a congressional 4th district race where there was no incumbent.